Hey guys, I'm going to go over questions from Monday night's homework, similar right triangles, and the geometric mean. This first problem was number 26 and 27. The first thing it asks you to do is tell whether the triangle is a right triangle, and then if so, we're going to find the length of the altitude to the hypotenuse. So first, let's check. Is this really a triangle? So I know 3 rad 170. If I plug this into a calculator, I can see this is my longer side. It's longer than 31 and 21. So I'm going to set this up as 21 squared plus 33 squared. I want to check and make sure that that really is equal to 3 times 1 rad 170 squared. 21 squared is going to give me a 441 plus 1089, and that's going to be equal to, or we're checking if that's equal to, 3 rad 170 squared comes out to be 1530. And so I get 1530 is equal to 1530. So yes, this is a right triangle. All right, so now that I know that, it's asking me to find the length of the altitude to the hypotenuse. So it's asking for this guy right here. Before I can do that, I have to figure out part of my hypotenuse. So I'm going to look at this guy right here. So I'm going to call him y. Now I'm going to use geometric mean of my leg. I'm going to use this 21 here. So I'm going to get 21 is going to go into my mean spot since the leg is the geometric mean to part of the hypotenuse he touches, which is going to be my y, and then my whole hypotenuse, which I know is 3 rad 170. I'm going to simplify it just because, and so I'm going to get this to be a 7 and then a 1. So now when I cross multiply, I'm going to get rad 170y, and that's going to be equal to 21 times 7. That's going to give me 147. And then divide both sides by rad 170. So I get y is equal to 147 over rad 170. And here I have to rationalize, multiply top and bottom by rad 170. So I get y is equal to 147 rad 170 all over 170. And that's for my y value. So right here, I'm going to get 147 rad 170 all over 170. Now, how does that help us? Well, I'm going to use that to help me find my value of x here. I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem with this triangle here. So I'm going to have my leg, which I just found, and that's going to give me 147 rad 170 over 170. So that's going to be my a squared plus b squared, and that's this guy right here, is equal to c squared, my hypotenuse, 21 squared. So again, I'm looking at this triangle, looking at my right triangle, and have my 2 legs, and then my hypotenuse 21. It does tell me to leave my answer to round it to the nearest tenth, so that's my clue that I can go ahead and put this straight into my calculator. So 147 times rad 170 divided by 170 squared, that's going to give me 127.1. plus x squared is equal to 441. And then subtracting 127 from both sides, I'm going to get x squared is equal to 313.9, taking the square root of this, and so I get x is approximately 17.7. The next one, 32 and 33. I want to find the length of AC and BD. First, I'm going to use my AC, this guy right here. I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem to find him. So this is my right angle right here. I'm going to do AC. So I'm going to have AC squared plus 3 rad 5 squared is equal to 5 rad 3 squared. 3 rad 5, so I'm going to do 3 times 3, which is 9. 9 times 5, I'm going to get 45. So I have AC squared plus 45 is equal to 5 times 5 is 25 times 3, and I get 75. So I'm going to subtracting 45 from both sides, and so I get AC squared is equal to 30, which means AC is equal to rad 30. So this guy right here is going to be rad 30. And now I'm asked to find the length of BD. So even though it doesn't it doesn't ask for it. I need to find CD first before I can find BD. So let me look for CD, and I'm going to use geometric mean of the altitude, this guy, to find my CD. So I'm going to set up 3 rad 5 in my mean spot, and it's going to break apart my hypotenuse. So I'm going to have rad 30 and then CD. So now when I cross multiply, I get CD times rad 30 is equal to 3 rad 5 times 3 rad 5. 3 times 3 is 9. Times 5 gives me 45. Divide both sides by rad 30. CD is equal to 45 over rad 30. But here I have to rationalize. So I multiply top and bottom by rad 30. And I get 45 rad 30 over 30. On the outside, 45 and 30, that guy, I can cancel out or pull out a 15, which leaves me with a 3 and a 2. So CD is really equal to 3 rad 30 all over 2. 3 rad 30 over 2. So now to figure out what BD is. Now I'm just going to use this triangle right here, and I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem to find BD. So I'm going to call this guy X. So using Pythagorean theorem, my two legs, I'm going to get 3 rad 5 squared plus 3 rad 30 over 2 squared, and that's going to be equal to my X squared. 3 rad 5 squared, that's going to give me 3 times 3 times 5 is going to give me 45 plus 3 rad 30 over 2. So I'm just going to do that on the side over here just so you can follow along. So I'm going to get 3 rad 30 over 2 times 3 rad 30 over 2. So on top, I'm going to get 3 times 3, which is 9. And 9 times 30 is going to give me 270. And then 2 times 2 is going to give me 4. And this I can simplify by pulling out a 2, and I'm going to get 135 over 2. So that's what 3 rad 30 over 2 squared is. So I'm going to get 135 over 2. Keep it in fraction form. Keep it with the fraction, and that's going to be equal to X squared. The reason why I keep it in a fraction is because the directions had said to simplify the radicals. So we want to try to keep it in rad form, which means we don't want to have decimals. So keep it in your fraction form, which means I have to change this 45 so I can add these guys together. So instead of saying 45, I'm going to say 90 over 2, just so I can have a common denominator. So now when I add these guys, I'm going to get 225 over 2, and that is equal to my X squared. And now I can square root both sides. And so I'm going to get the square root of 225 over 2, which the square root of 225 is 15. 15 over rad 2 for your X. But I have to rationalize the top and bottom by rad 2, which means I'm going to get X to be 15 rad 2 over 2. That's what this guy is. And the last one, geometric mean. I want to look for my AC. I'm going to use geometric mean of my leg here. So I'm going to get 2 rad 31, 2 rad 31. That's going to go into my mean spot. And then part of the hypotenuse that it touches is 2 rad 17. And then my whole hypotenuse is going to be AC, which I'm just going to call, actually, we'll just leave it as AC like that. So now when I cross multiply, I'm going to get AC times 2 rad 17, and that's equal to 2 rad 31 times 2 rad 31. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 31 is going to give you 124. Then you're going to divide both sides by 2 rad 17. So AC is equal to 124 over 2 rad 17. 124 and 2, I'm going to simplify that, and that's going to give me 62 and 1. So I get 62 over rad 17. And now I'm going to rationalize the top and bottom by rad 17. And I'm going to get 62 rad 17 over 17. And that's my length of AC. And it's asking me to find the length of BD. For BD, I'm just going to use Pythagorean theorem for this part of my figure, this triangle right here. So I'm going to have BD squared plus 2 rad 17 squared, and that's going to be equal to 2 rad 31 squared. 2 rad 17 squared, so 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 17 is going to be 68, and that's going to be equal to 2 rad 31 squared. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 31 is going to be 124. And then I'm going to subtract 68 from both sides. So I get BD squared is equal to 56. And I'm going to square root this. 56 breaks up to be a 14 and 4. So 4 is perfect, which means I'm going to get 2 rad 14. So my length of BD is 2 rad 14. All right, guys, I hope that helps some.